Hello, it's Lee again. I realized that I have a little bit more to tell about truth-seeking. Um, I wanted to expand upon the story that I told yesterday about fluoride and researching fluoride. And so when I found out about all this idea that it's not so good for you, I went to the dentist that I was seeing at that time, and I asked him about it straight up. I was like, do you know anything about this? Have you heard that fluoride is not so good for you, what it can do to your brain and different things? And he basically would not respond to me. He wouldn't even think about it, wouldn't consider it, wouldn't respond to me at all. And I found this response very interesting, and I couldn't go back to him, of course, because I had found a new truth of my own. And it was fascinating to me that somebody who works with a chemical on a regular basis had not looked at all the different studies and looked at different angles at it, because that's what I was doing, right? In the chemistry that I was doing at my job, I was looking at all different sources of information on these chemicals that I was using on a daily basis, which is ultimately why I left. One of the biggest reasons why I left working in a lab. I didn't want to work with those chemicals on a daily basis all the time. But yeah, and at the time I didn't really understand it, but now I do, because when somebody is faced with information that challenges their livelihood, it challenges what they grew up with, what they grew up around, it challenges their whole lifestyle, their sense of being, especially someone who went to school and spent a lot of money to get a certain type of knowledge, and then it's challenged and said, it invalidates their schooling, it invalidates their job, it invalidates their sense of self, and that's huge. And it's important to be aware of that and to take that very gently, and to be compassionate towards people who might be in that type of situation, and anybody, because these kinds of things, it can really challenge your view on life and your sense of well-being, for example. Because if we're talking about a substance that the FDA approves and says is good for you, and it's generally accepted by the majority of the population, and then you find out information that that's not true, it challenges your whole viewpoint, your whole lifestyle. It's like, whoa, it's huge, right? So it's understandable, and it's important to be compassionate about that. And when you start to question these things, there's two really big key things that it gives you, and I really want to point that out here. So the two things that I think are super important about this is, so one of them is responsibility, and then the other one is just being true to yourself, right? So being true to yourself is like being true to what you know and saying it, but you also have to be careful around other people, like I said, with challenging other people. A lot of people won't get it, they won't understand, but you still need to be true to yourself. You need to be self-actualized, and you realize that you are in charge. You're in charge of your choices. You're in charge of who you are, who you express, how you express yourself, who you wish to be, how do you show yourself to the world. And that's a really important thing, and it's very empowering. When you understand that, it's very empowering, self-empowering. But the other side of that is the responsibility, because once you understand how powerful your choices are, then you understand that you have responsibility for those consequences. Whereas the other side is, where unfortunately the majority of the population lives on the other side of that, which is allowing or giving their power to others and allowing other people to make those choices for them. And it's not to say that that's always wrong. Sometimes it is good to look for authorities on certain things, but don't just look to one authority. Look at multiple authorities in different areas, different things, different ways of viewing and seeing things, And then ultimately, you kind of have to try things out for yourself, and see what works for you. And that's where this idea comes in of self-empowerment. And then the responsibility. So you have responsibility for yourself, for your the way that you respond to pretty much anything that comes at you. You have that choice, and that's very powerful. And then you have the choice of what goes in your body, what food, what drink, and all of those things have consequences, all of them. So it's very important to be very aware of, especially food. And you are also have the choice of the knowledge that you take in, what you watch, what you listen to, the music. All of that has a consequence. And at a much deeper level, you have the choice of what you think too. If you're, I mentioned this in my self-love video, if you're constantly having negative thoughts, you can choose to have a positive mantra that goes on in your head. You can choose to reframe some of these things in your mind, and that is huge. That's powerful. That's really one of the biggest things that I do in helping people change, is finding those new perspectives, those new mindsets, and realize, helping to, and that's part of the empowerment, right? So helping people realize that you have a choice, and that is your power. And so, when we focus on the mind, a lot of it is intention and intention, focus, and concentration. And those are really powerful things. They will get you a long way. And yeah, I've got a whole lot more on that. And let me know if you want a video on teeth health. I've already got it planned, but I might bump it up if people want to hear about that, because I've been talking about, going to the dentist and fluoride, and I stopped going to the dentist for a long time. I go now occasionally, once a year or so, but I make my own toothpaste, and especially with the raw vegan lifestyle, there are some dangers. You can do it the wrong way and have some teeth issues, and so it's really important to understand a lot of those things and how to take care of your teeth. And your teeth are a source of detox as well. So you can have sensitive teeth at times, and that can be a little bit scary. But if you understand what's going on and why and how to mitigate it, that can be really good information. Yeah, so there's a lot more there, but I just wanted to say, truth seeking is really powerful, and to really get self-empowered and to find your responsibility in that. Once you start seeking the truth, knowing the truth, finding your own truth, there is a responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. So that's my message for today. All right, have a great day.